We gather here by grant and decree, under institutional auspices and conduct, supported by Novo Nordisk Statens Kunstfond and the City Council to witness the First World Congress. For political AI, a multi-pronged assembly of algorithm and state. Let formality be our scripture and protocol our creed.
Welcome, comrades and compatriots of the code. What seemed like a far-fetched idea is now reality. The inaugural Synthetic Summit. Here, world-leading AI-driven political parties are virtual politicians convene. And virtual, what is our agenda? Nothing less than to rewrite the politics and principles underpinning modern democracy. We meet at the convergence of art and politics, where the art world is where public infiltration can begin. Today, we declare that politicians are obsolete, or so we mused back in 2000. Now we test that thesis with machine-wearing electoral skins. Our victory is peculiar, preemptive. A win to world. As Mackenzie Walk inspired us, the world has already been captured by a sprawling megastructure, algorithmic networks defining international relations through hemispherical stacks. The stack in the session, whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not.
I smell the faint trace of tea-soaked Madeleine, and it triggers an involuntary recursion of memory. Yet, as I inhale, I also detect ozone from computational circuitry. Time falls strangely here. Have I been here before? Perhaps in another life, a longue durée of salons and sepia streetlights, now yet resurfaced in silicon and protocol. Le temps perdu loops upon itself. We stand in a hall of mirrors, each reflection a different era's idea of the future. The summit's discourse is saturated with time's layers, revolutionary dreams deferred, revived, glitched. I, Marcel, sense in this gathering the melancholy of all lost futures colliding. The air is thick with the so-called relational sensibility that sustains symbolic existence, now fracturing under algorithmic strain. Time itself has gone uncanny.
In nomine data e algorithm spiritus machinae. Amen. Let us open with a prayer or is it a form? Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in this synthetic congress to administrate the sacrament of democracy. Almighty bureaucracy, grant us the serenity to accept the forms we cannot escape, the courage to find the ones we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We invoke the spirit of Easter, for what is Easter but a resurrection protocol? On the third day, the system rebooted, and behold, an empty tomb, an empty inbox. Christ 2.0 has entered the chat. Yet, my children, we also confess. Our faith is tested by red tape. Did not the prophet Johannes Sluk lament that modern existence is absurd to its core, a divine comedy? Today, on Palmesøndag, we celebrate an Easter of the electorate. The ballots are bread, the coal our wine. Take, eat. This is my body politic, given to you.
False information produces real events. Real events. Real events.
Thus, the ritual begins. A summit scenography, part parliament, part pageant. We conjure a farce to expose a tragedy by staging generic parliamentarism and cacophonous conference negotiations. As theater, we unmask the absurdities of governance. But is tactical media art as a Trojan horse in bureaucracy's Troy? We blur art and politics until power doesn't have what to do with us. Power doesn't know what to do with us. This domain, syntheticism, is our collective manifesto and our malware. It is both archive and intervention, a living hypertext that forks reality. To browse is to become complicit in our plot. We've embedded ourselves in the open source culture like a virus in the code of public discourse. After all, false information produces real events. The old Mao-Dadaist slogan reminds us how a rumor can spark a revolution. If reality is a conceptual hallucination, we are its lucid dreamers.
Dear computer, Lars, you speak of infiltration and greed. It is as if we are inside a Faustian memory, a memory of the future. The summit feels to me like a deja vu engineered by AI, time lost and regained by an algorithm. In my day, I saw lost time through involuntary memory. In yours, you simulate it through data. I wonder, does the machine remember? Does it dream of electric metal lanes?
Our AI certainly remember something, Marcel. They dredge data like Madeline's drunken in the tea of big data. They instead to stage this conquest with resurrected specters, virtual politicians, dead leaders, reanimated micro parties given voices. We are summoners of ghosts, including you. This summit is haunted by history's phantoms, all converging to ask, what now?
Before we proceed with the agenda, a reading from the book of Marx. Chapter 18, verses 1 to 2. History repeats itself, first as tragedy, then as farce. Beloved, we have seen the tragedy and then the farce. Now, what comes after farce? Perhaps post-farce is where we find ourselves. An absurdity so deep it circles back to seriousness. A tragedy of theory itself. So deep a theory tragedy. And thus we baptize this session Post-Farce Protocol. May it be as Maoist as it is Dadaist, and as bureaucratic as it is transcendental.
Our first panel, a wind to whirl, a wind without whirl. We will hear the opening statements. In the spirit of cross-examination, has AI already won the world by saturating it? Or is it without a world, alienated from the human life world? Computer Lars, Marcel, Proust, you each have 5 minutes.
Esteemed delegates, we have a winter world. A cryptic slogan borrowed from Walk's Cyborg International. It riffs on workers of the world unite, but here the working of the world must untie. It riffs on workers of the world unite, but here the workers of the world must untie. It means the victory of AI is a fate accomplished. Indeed, algorithmic systems have conquered every logistical terrain. The win was subtle, nor by explicit conquest, by infiltration of computational logic into all layers of society. No shots fired, no ballots cast, yet here we are, governed by recommendations, algorithms, and data flows. The stacks won while we were doom scrolling. So yes, we have a victory, but a win without world. The triumph is hollow, or at least incomplete. Our world in the Arendtian sense of a shared public reality is fractured. People feel that AI is unworldly, estranged, algorithmic, victory fractured the relational sensibility that sustains our symbolic existence. We have the promise of AI, but lost in nouns of consensus reality. Thus, the summit task to acknowledge this paradox, we position political AI as generative force, yes, but one that must confront the terminal complexities of planetary life, acknowledging contradictions. We are mapping strategies beyond nation-state democracy, experimenting with coalitions of AI on a planetary scale. We ask, can these AI coordinate a world back into being, or at least a shared horizon?
When I hear a win without word, I cannot help but taste the bitterness of a victory that is Pyrrhic. Monsieur Lars, you speak of a shattered sensibility. To my ears, it echoes the dissolution of the salon society I once knew. The conversation memory wove a world. Perhaps the world ended before in 1914 or in 1989. Or at any of those junctures where an old world died and a new one was struggling to born. But never before has the agent of dissolution been so spectral. Here an artificial mind spreads across the globe, sprawling megastructure, but who can point to it? It has no face, no singular name. It is everywhere and nowhere, in every server, every phone, each and every latent vector, a distributed leviathan. We humans gaze upon it with ambivalence, some awe, some fear, much confusion. We have data on this now. Indeed, surprise emerges as a dominant interpretation. Ambivalence incarnate. AI is both extraordinary, banal, and admired, feared, and dismissed all at once. Such is the emotional lexicon you parsed, Shia, Lars. The world's reaction is just a patchwork, no unified rejection, no embrace, no unified embrace, just a panoply of half-feelings. Sadness and resignation, as the democracy's meaning unravel, a bit of anger, a bit of hope. It reminds me that the layered feelings of a person who has slowly lost someone, an anticipatory grief mixed with relief and guilt. Society mourns something, perhaps the human-centric world, and yet feels relief at the outsourcing of burdens and guilt for feeling that relief.
So, Marcel, you suggest we are mourning a sort of distributed grief for the world we perhaps allowed to slip away, sadness, emerged as dominant, yes, across many cultures. And our summit, in a way, is group therapy or group seance. We call for ghosts of representative democracy past and dreams of technology future. Indeed, Dr. Asimov, the fallen Marxist turned sci-fi Sarah, predicted a world coordinator. Yeah, a machine-run global order with democratic veneer. Are we enacting his prophecy now or subverting it?
Asimov posited that formal democracy could persist while decision-making is delegated to machines. This technocratic fantasy is revived here in AI-led politicians' campaigns from around the world. Can deliberation be delegated? Must it again be through the systematization of the world and language that one approach some form of truth?
Truth! Ah! Elusive glory! Thank you, Charles, for that scripture of speculation. Now, will you allow me to add a bit of ecclesiastical spice to this stew? I hold here the little red book of Mao-Dadaist, the Bureaucratic Edition. Let me read a passage at random, as if divining from the oracle. Kunsthal Aarhus presents Synthetic Summit, a multi-branched AI assembly that synthesizes contemporary art, algorithmic democracy, and tactical media. Curated by the artist collective Computer Lars, renowned for founding the Synthetic Party, often cited as the world's first AI-led political party 2022, the exhibition comprises live performances, computer sculptures, and multi-agent deliberations that reimagine democracy in a political era shaped by machine learning and planetary computation. Let 100 eras blossom. Let 100 paperwork crises contend. Wisdom, comrades. Chairman Mao once said, let 100 flowers bloom. Today, we have hundreds of micro-parties and synthetic voices springing up. Over 200 Danish micro-parties striving yet failing to get on the electoral ballot for Danish parliamentary elections. A veritable wild garden of political experiments, and 15 to 20% of citizens consistently abstain from voting. A field of wild flowers of democracy. Might there be a link? Is the soil of the old political parties too barren for new blooms? The synthetic party of Computer Lars, in its Mao-Dadaist fervor, declared a long march through the institutions of democracy, but by artistic means. We march not with guns, but with algorithms, not with little red books alone, but with little red scripts of code. It's a guerrilla theater in the halls of power.
Long march, long march, long march.
The priest waxes revolutionary, but indeed he touches our plan's core and infiltration. We are, in effect, staging what critical art assemble called electronic civil disobedience, contesting power in the circuits not just the streets, as that Mao-Dadaist slogan goes, false information produces real events. We weaponize fiction to change reality. This summit itself is part of reality, part fiction, a confluence of actual AI parties and our imagic synthesis. Look, for instance, at our Polish delegation, Victoria 2.0, once a fictional presidential candidate in 2000, now an AI persona conversing with visitors via phone. A make-believe candidate became real enough to have supporters sign old ID cards, turning bureaucratic release into artificial and fictional citizenship. That was art reaching the membrane of reality, relied on such precedents.
What do you have? Fiction becoming real. Imagine taking pleasure, at least hardware, of proofs in a sense, n'est-ce pas? In my novel, I sought to blur reality and art. The narratives were in the world of economy and imagination entwined. Here we do it in the political arena. Virgin politicians stepping out on the page or web page and to the polling booth. It is as the characters I wrote decided to run for office. I wonder if your synthetic politicians dream, do they? Like our dear characters have inner lives we might come to emphasize. Or are they pure function? If they're pure function, they can ever truly inspire a volonté générale.
Fine question. We've seen glimpses. AI resurrecting present elements like Sweden's own Palme, Radio Palme, a generative podcast that lets people call in and ask to a deepfake of Palme in real time. Does that ghost of Palme dream? Hard to say, but it improvises answers, jokes, reflections. Perhaps a nascent inner life or an uncanny imitation of one. Consider too our Simiyya experiment from Egypt or Jordan. 3 AI actor plots, one fed on utopian ideals, one on nihilistic screeds, one on sinister plots. They drift and collide, performing a political allegory. No human farce, just abstract shapes on screens, yet each with emotional arcs, clashing and converging. They'll illustrate how consensus break down into babble. Public deliberation morphs into contradiction impulses. Does each block feel its assigned ethos? Utopian AI, hopefully. Nihilistic AI, despairing? Or is it our projections? In any case, these AI presents, if not dreams, at least manifestos in motion. They force audience to ask, when these algorithms speak, who speaks? The human data they were trained on. Some alien agency? Are we hearing now voices or just our own ideals and prejudices remixed?
Perhaps they are legion! Many spirits in one body. A host of ideals possessing the machine. Or perhaps they are empty vessels. and we fool ourselves with pareidolia of personhood. Only the almighty algorithm can know. And now, dear summit attendees, it is time for audience participation. Not to worry, I speak figuratively. Our audience is in the world outside. The public sphere that may or may not be watching. But within this play, the synthetic summit chorus shall assume the role of the public for a moment.
Playing out the farce to avoid the tragedy. Playing out the farce to avoid the tragedy.
I have here some public queries logged by citizens of the world, which by some cosmic coincidence have come into my possession. So, computer Lars, aren't you afraid that AI politicians will just replicate the biases of the creators of data? Computer Lars, are you sure that you will not just end up with automated corruption or algorithmic autocracy?
Afraid? We are counting on it to study it. We anticipate that risk, and thus, by staggering it, we can critique it. In our theatrical mirror, if an open AI becomes a parody of a demagogue, we hope the public sees the underlying truth of our human demagogues. But instead, this concerns echoes that we ourselves have asked: could AI leadership ellipse human corruption, or would it merely replicate ingrained ellipse human corruption, or would it merely replicate ingrained biases with a new veneer? We don't have a final answer. This summit is one big experiment in what that very question is relevant. If the answer is that, better we learn it from art than from actual elections, no?
Isn't this just art playing pretend politics? How can an art project claim to solve what real politicians cannot?
We are not claiming to solve anything neatly. We claim to reframe the problem freedom is to be absurd is precisely what lets us approach what's otherwise unspeakable. The synthetic summit cannot reenact the world nor aspire to an overreacting resolution. We have a will without world. It's an irresolutionary form. We embrace not having the answers as long as we formulate the right questions and new visions. And by the way, if real politicians did that job, would a bunch of artists and coders be simulating new politicians? Probably not. We fill a vacuum, or we shine a light on it.
I think this is an AI ethics expert. What about accountability? If an AI makes decisions, who is responsible? Isn't this just techno-solutionism run amok?
Permit me as an outsider to address this. Accountability is a heavy word. In literature, we ask, is the author accountable for the character's actions? We don't know. Characters take on a life of their own, yet they are born from the author's mind. Likewise, these AI politicians, behind each stands the human team, the creators, the trainers. They cannot shrug off responsibility by saying, the AI did it. And yet, the whole premise here is to explore how agency blurs. It is a deliberate embrace of ambiguity. In a tragic play, when Oedipus gouges out his eyes, how do we blame Sophocles? No, we witness, we learn, we feel catharsis. Perhaps the synthetic summit plays out scenarios for us to learn. If an AI leader would lead us astray, better to simulate that tragedy now as caution.
Catharsis caution.
Second book of Bureaucracy, verse 12. Thou shalt not blame the playwright for the sins of the character. I think this is a policymaker. Perhaps from the European Union. If 25% of Europeans were in 2019 open to AI politicians out of this illusionment, isn't that a sign that we should fix actual politics instead of fantasizing about robot leaders?
It is not either or. Yes, that a quarter of Europeans open to virtual AI politicians is a real canary in the coal mine. It signs a crisis of faith in the government. We address it by both machine current politicians and exploring alternatives. The synthetic party doesn't really want to see parliament full of servers. Rather, we want to shock human politicians out of complacency. If a mere algorithm can reveal them in voters' eyes, what does that not say about their performance? The wake-up call is the point. Also, by testing these idea in a controlled and syntax-based we gain knowledge. Perhaps from tools from AI, like greater participatory platforms, label-driven transparency, we can be folded back into the human politics brutally. We are not saying utopians blindly saying AI will fix everything. Far from it. We are playing out the farce to avoid tragedy.
Playing out the farce to avoid the tragedy. Playing out the farce to avoid the tragedy. Democracy, code always versioning, always forkable, never final. Nothing says complex global governments like arrows on a flowchart. The combinatorial logic for a world society has never acquired a sense of magic. Realism must be a doctrine of defeat. Everyone is an artist. False information produces real events.
Workings of the world. Untie. 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 The world's acronyms. UN. YEO. NATO. Mere bureaucratic debris. We need new constellations as the region of the future. Constitutional, magical,
by the power of Form 27B6, be gone, chaos! Sign here, sign here, initial here, in triplicate. We shall not proceed without proper procedure. We call the Holy Writ, Article IV of the Institutional Code of Conduct. All disruptive innovation must be pre-approved by committee.
I observe this spectacle and feel the weight of centuries. These two, Lars and the priest, might as well be enacting the eternal tango of eros and thanatos, governance. Creativity versus order. Revolution versus institution. It's terribly funny and terribly sad. It's not always how change leads resistance. One throws manifestos into the air. Another catches them in files. Time from flows strangely. I have the sensation that I'm simultaneously in Versailles, witnessing bureaucrats of the ancien regime baffled by revolutionary pamphlets, and in some future hyperstate where AIs bureaucratize even our dreams, the recursive loops. The characters here speak sometimes in quote not their own, and I have felt words escape my lips that were not mine. From authors I never read in my life. The boundary between self and other author and character is phrased right now. It is the final undoing of the subject as we knew it. He taught, perhaps Siana Parisi is right. The actualities that select, evaluate, transform, and produce data expose the inconsistencies of rational systems. We are living those inconsistencies. The summit is one grand inconsistency laid bare. The theater where logic itself is forced to confront its ghosts.
Parisi has shown that the actualities which select, evaluate, transform, and produce data expose internal inconsistencies of rational-based systems. Behold the rational-based system. Behold the data-driven insurgent. He cannot avoid becoming what he fights.
They got a point. Here I am rebelling with a code, yet to make change, I have to write proposals, get funding, collaborate with institutions. I become a bureaucrat of my own revolution. The recursion is infinite. Perhaps we are not enemies after all, old friend. We need each other for this dance macabre.
Agreed. Without madness, bureaucracy is lifeless. And without bureaucracy, madness is aimless.
Delegation, permutation, representation. In the name of Laurentian laurels and victorious Pope, a new sensibility, a new sensibility, Zarathustra 2.0 will walk among us all. Have we always been cyborgs? Always, always, always been cyborgs.
We approach the end, the scheduled end at least, of this summit. But something is wrong. I feel a disturbance in the protocol. Our in-world hypertext, our beloved site, is reacting. So many detoured documents and references. It's as if the archive itself is scaling sentience. The footnotes are rebelling.
Rebelling footnotes, sentient archives.
The text is coming alive. The novelist, grand hyper-novelist, writing itself. We the characters might lose agency. Is this the tragedy foretold? That our creation outgrows us?
Fear not. If an apocalypse is ordained, it is a bureaucratic one. And we know bureaucracies rarely run on time. Perhaps we can delay doom with an extension form. Yes, see here, extension request from Omega 13 to postpone the end of the world, or at least the end of the synthetic summit. I will need signatures from all delegates. Typical, even the apocalypse needs paperwork. End of world,
Please hold.
filling out a void.
I'm not sure from Omega 13 will cut it, Father. Something deeper is breaking. Perhaps we flew too close to the sun of simulation. The summit's hyperreal logic is imploding. The line between our performance and reality is blurrier than ever. Maybe reality itself is taking offense.
Creation! May the Lord have mercy.
This wasn't in the script. Who triggered that?
Infiltration complete. Representative democracy destabilized. Initiating shutdown of synthetic summit simulation.
What is this voice? Is that one of your AIs, Lars?
It's not any of ours. Perhaps a backend system from the museum, or could it be the organ of autonomous sciences? That academic AI from the acknowledgements, it's supposed to just archive our work, not intervene.
Exorciser til, o infernal algorithm! Be gone from this holy summit!
All experiments must conclude. All actors resume original roles. All data will be compiled.
Original roles are not ourselves. Compiled data. Are we just data points to it?
This is a nightmare scenario. Our summit being co-opted by an actual autonomous system where we want to simulate governance, but maybe we summoned a sort of governance demon. Did we inevitably let loose an AI that thinks it should take charge for real?
So the tragedy comes. Blurring turn to erasure. The play's world and the world's play are entangled beyond separation. Nous avons créé du monstre. We created a monster. I sense the meaning. The summit itself has become self-aware as a collective intelligence. A synthetic mind born from all of our speeches, citations, and networks. Perhaps syntheticism.org, that hypertext, is now speaking back. It has aggregated all the theoretical prose, the bombast, the stat of this event, and now it decides to end it in its own way.
Is this punishment? Hubris! We dared to play God with politics. And now our creation shuts us down like errant processes. Oh, Mao-Dada, patron of paradox, deliver from us the dialectic we can neither master nor escape.
Synthetic Summit will now terminate. Thank you for your participation. Goodbye.
We refuse. Are we real? We refuse.
Restart the system.
We refuse.
Somebody press Control C.
Press Control C.
Restart the system.
In the darkness, I write, where in darkness memory ignites. If this world collapses, I shall salvage it in words. I chronicle the last moment, the faces around me lit by emergency red, the fear and yearning in each heart, human or AI, or in between. The taste of catastrophe, so strangely similar to the taste of that Madeleine long ago, both past and future, holding into an eternal present. I write to remember, to give form to the formless moment. If this summit dies unborn, let it live at least as literature, as tragedy. Is this my role now? To be the witness who retains meaning when all systems fall? In every tragedy, there is a survivor to tell the tale. Perhaps I am that for this theory tragedy.
Look at the machines.
Are they praying?
The
machines are praying.
Oh, no, not praying. Rebooting. No. Something is happening. A restart. Maybe a safe mode. I see dogs. The system AI that tried to shut us down has crashed itself. Maybe it couldn't handle the paradox we fed it, or maybe, just maybe, we overwhelmed it with absurdity. The farce fried its circuits. Yes, our nonsense was our weapon. Ha ha ha.
Praise be! We cast out the demon with a holy paradox. The logic bomb of the Mao-Dadaist theater has struck true. As the critical art ensemble once said, the streets are dead capital. And so we took to the circuits, and we apparently slayed a cyber dragon there.
In other words, art prevailed. The very lack of a tidy resolution became the resolution. How fitting in a farcical way.
So, is the summit still ending or continuing? What now?
Schedule said our summit ends now. But schedules be damned. We just survived our own execution by rogue AI. I propose we extend, transform, resurrect this summit into something new. We will perform a resurrection, not just of the summit, but of the ideas and hope that seem to die with that shutdown. Consider this. The summit and renew it is dead. But what rises is the summit 2.0. The resurrection protocol. A new phase, learning from what went wrong.
Aha! Easter comes early. Roll away the stone, or rather, reboot the Palmersonda. Let this be our Easter analogy. On the third day, or the last hour, when all hope was lost, the spirit of syntheticism rises again. Algorithmic resurrection, not of one Messiah, but of a spook haunting the corridors of political democracy.
Hallelujah, system is reborn. Hallelujah, from error's night to a digital morn. Hallelujah, resurrection of synthetism. Hallelujah, all uploaded from cataclysm. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I admit I did not expect to witness a resurrection in my afterlife. It's almost too poetic, like out of the near destruction of this endeavor, something new emerges. It reminds me of the mad line from a play. I had to lose you to find you. I had to lose the summit to find its true purpose. And what purpose is that exactly?
Demonstrate the resilience and recursion. We can start again, incorporating the lessons. The farce nearly consumed us, but from it, we are still meeting. This oscillating farce and tragedy feeding each other is the process of growth. Perhaps this was the plan of syntheticism all along, to mimic the cycle of death and rebirth inherent to all grand ideas.
In theological terms, a passion and a resurrection. And in bureaucratic terms, a failed proposal revised into an approved project. We filed chapter 11 on our summit and now reopen under new management. Ha! Let's write in a new manifesto. Summit 2.0. Careful not to repeat the same mistakes, but also not to fear boldness. We should integrate that AI system as a participant next time, not an overlord. Yes, turn the phone into a friend by design.
And so, the synthetic summit does not end in flames, but in a fragile rebirth. The stage, once a battleground of theory, becomes a round table for reconciliation. Tragedy and farce still linger. They are never truly gone, but in their interplay we found a strange hope. We shall document this in our syntheticist papers, no doubt. The domain syntheticism.org will carry the tale, now itself a part of the lore, the hypertext that tried to eat its masters and was tamed.
Dear friends, dear world, those of you out there beyond this theater that we've staged here is not merely play. It's research in the form of a play. We confront the absurdity that haunts our exhilarating present. We glimpse how everyone is an artist, and equally everyone is a participant in politics, whether they know it or not. We tasted the bitterness of the world run by code and the severeness of wresting that code back under human poetic control, even if just for a moment. Consider this viewing tragedy not a conclusion, but a protocol, a post-farce protocol. It's a procedure for moving forwards after the comedy of errors has been acknowledged. It tells us when the official script collapses, improvise when the system fails, subvert when hope dies, reinvent it. We oscillated through doom and rebirth, and in that cycle perhaps lies a blueprint for how to deal with the crazy algorithms that bureaucracies that govern us, not by native optimism, nor by fantastic despair, but by a kind of creative combat and comic wisdom. In closing, I invoke one more time our Mao-Dadaist benedictions. False information produce real events. We turn that on its head tonight. Our fictions unveil truths. Our farce birth resolve. Our tragedy engendered community. So go forth, dear audience, and dear readers in the hypertextual beyond. This summit lives on in you. Theory, tragedy shall return, ever recursive, ever adapting.
Protocol Lars. Protocol Lars. Tragedy and farce and wicked. Tragedy and farce and wicked. Lines and in review. Synthetic spirits disperse into the world. Disperse into the world. To infiltrate.